Hello there YouTube, Retro Marky here, and a bit of a strange sight to behold on my channel, but computers but no Commodore 64. What is going on? Well, I'm having a bit of a rest. I've been looking at 3 beeps I've got, doing a bit of repair work on them, and managed to get them all nicely working. But today I was thinking about a little video I wanted to do, which was on the speccy, as I've got a couple of new solutions, so you don't need to use a dodgy old micro drive, which I can never get to work, or cassette, as I'm too lazy to faff around with cassette decks anymore. And being a fan of the 64, I'm used to things like the Easy Flash and Ultimate 2 and things like that. So solutions for the BBC I can do in 2 seconds. Just get one of those. It's an DIVMMC card, it plugs in the user port, you pop in a chip and you're good to go. But jokes aside, I might look into the Beeb in more detail another time. Back to the Spectrum. So here we've got our classic rubber keyed Spectrum. Now, 2 things, 2 devices, and one which I will do second is my favourite because it's cheaper, and somehow I just prefer the whole interface and using it, and also it works on all versions of Spectrum, whereas this one, although it does, is a little bit more faffy, if that's a word. We'll get to that in a second. So what I'm going to do, so this one here was about 35 to 40 pounds after shipping. It does have some advantages, but it also has some disadvantages. Disadvantages is you need one of these interface 2s. So if you don't have one of those, it does add up a little bit. There are non-Sinclair versions of these, which you can normally pick up for about 20 quid. It's a nice gadget to have, a nice interface if you are a Spectrum fan, but something nice about having the proper Sinclair one, which is a bit more pricey. So pop this in here, as we do with every Spectrum, as it only has one expansion port, and pop it in. It doesn't work. That's great. That's what happens when you make a video. What is going on here? There we go. Now, the reason I got this one first, I got this a few months back, is I mod and repair machines, as you know if you watch my channel, and this is the first solution I found that, whoops, of course, quite delicate this, isn't it? This is the first solution I found that gives you some instant diagnostics software, which is not quite so easy to find on the speccy. So we use the cursor keys so we can disable the ROM cartridge. So basically, I can't get them, they're up there somewhere, but this is like pretty similar to having the little cartridges that the Spectrum had, the 10 cartridges, Space Raiders, Cookie, Horace, Backgammon, Chess. But it's like having a much huger version of that, basically. In fact, I've got those games already on here. So if I just quickly show you, I guess, a game first. Jetpack, my absolute favourite game, or one of them. And because it is a cartridge, it's instant load. So in many ways, if you don't want to fork out an absolute arm and a leg like I did for the little cartridges, then this is great because you can get all 10 on them. And I'm just thinking, can I reset without? Yeah, so another disadvantage with this is you can't reset it because it is just really a cartridge solution. So on the old rubber keyed zombie flesh machine, obviously unless you fit your own on-off switch, it's a bit of a pain having to pull this in and out and wear down the port. But anyway, what I do like about it, overall, I like them both, but is we've got some test ROMs, like this one, and this will test just about everything, even things you probably don't even have. So what you can do is choose an individual test. For example, I don't know, you can test the RAM. And it's not too exciting, but it's doing the job. And there you go. I have 48K spectrum in working order. Press symbol, press cap shift. Okay. So you can go back and forth when you're using diagnostics. You can also do a full test, which is great. This reminds me a little bit of the Dr. 64 diagnostics I use when I've basically mended the machine and got it ready and recapped it and whatever. It's ready for sale. I just want to check everything is hunky-dory. Don't worry about that. It's because I'm resting it on a beeb and it's a bit wonky, a bit wonkaloid. So we've also got, I can't remember the differences here. So we've got a separate +2 test program. And I can't remember why I had problems with the +2. Or was it the +2B? Anyway, like I said, it's all here. It's just a little bit more complex at times. Let's test the ULA. And if you've got the dough, then maybe get both of these. But to be honest, if I had to choose one, it'd be the other one. There we go. Another disadvantage with this one, I'm listing a lot, but I just have to. But is there's no SD card or anything like that with it. It's just literally a cartridge. So you do need an RS interface, which means you will need also interface 2 unless you've got a mate, and then you connect this to your PC, and to put anything on here you've actually got to transfer via RS423 and some software, so it's quite a faff really. So yeah, anyhow, still I do like this. I like the fact it's all in one cartridge. If you've got interface 1 and 2, yeah, maybe you would like it. But let's give it a 7 out of 10, say, and give this next one maybe more like a 9 out of 10. I think for looks this is quite nice as well. Anyhow, so this is the smart card, I think it's called, and this was really good value for 25 quid, maybe a quid or two packing. Disadvantage is no case or anything, but there is a nice felty rubbery thing here for pushing it in. It's a little bit delicate because it is a PCB and the buttons are standard kind of switches you buy from electronics shops, but I do really like this. Also has a joystick port, and if we pop that, we don't have to use this interface. I'm just using it. I like the slightly more stable feel and the angle on the Spectrum, but you don't need it. That just goes in the back. So again, it's quite a elegant, low-cost solution. I also love the fact it makes a noise when you power. It's a bit like, but not quite, but close. So reset button here, which is really nice. We've got 4 dip switches. It's a little bit complicated, but you get a manual with it basically. In fact, if we power off first, so dip, normally you'd have dip 3 down and all the others up. But if you do want to use the diagnostics, then put dip 1 down and the others up. The only downside, yeah, with the SD card, it's a slight faff getting it in, but oh, come on. Is that working or not? I'm sure it was dip 1 down. Have I got that wrong? Maybe it's dip 1 up as well. I can't remember. Yes, there we go. So all the dips are up. I like this because you just power it on, put it into test mode, and leave your speccy to do its testing. Compatible with all the versions of the Spectrum. I haven't verified that, but I've been assured that's true. I do like the way, I just prefer the diagnostic software as well. It's nice and automated. It's like running a C64 diagnostics cart. It just runs through all the tests you'd want. So test the lower and the upper RAM. So you could have a problem with your upper RAM and you'll know. And it's got lovely little lights here to say what's going on. Could do an IRQ test. Don't quite know how he's done this border trick, by the way. Not seen that before. Even a speaker test. So there we go, and we've got 1 to 8 tests, some alternative even RAM tests. You can also check your ROM, which is quite nice, and verify what you've got inside your machine. Can't find the any key. Floating bus, whatever that is. Something to do with the CPU, I'd think. Probably putting sending and receiving data on the CPU bus, something like that. We've also got an NMI side, non-maskable interrupt, which is used for, I think it's like a freeze frame you get on the C64. Not something I'm too bothered with myself. Software wise, I don't know if you can use all the formats. TZX, whatever it's called, I don't think works, although it might. I'd have to Google around. You can update the firmware, so maybe that's been done. But I've been using tap files, which is absolutely fine for me. Let's just reset that. So it's a little bit delicate, this. But then again, you won't be using this constantly pressing buttons, I wouldn't think. So, just to keep this video a little bit shorter. Then we've got 4 different banks. So in bank 3, I might be better off using a little screwdriver. So yeah, this kind of highlights that it is a bit more delicate. That's alright. Speckies are delicate anyway. Not like this chunky beast. So I've right, one thing is you can't use a SD card more than I think 2 gigs or maybe 4. I think it's 4. Because Windows can't format the card in FAT16. So this is a FAT16 format, that's something to be aware of. And what we do is, let's say Batman, and it's as quick as that. It takes about 5 seconds. You've got some flashing lights to tell you what's going on. I like the fact this thing feels very proactive. There we go, there's Batman. And also we can reset, get a menu again, and I actually did, I haven't tried it yet. See what this is the test ROM, I think, from the other one. Or is it? Well, it is, but I'm not sure about that. But what I would like to do is to finish this off. Let's try a new one. Okay, so Exelon, I definitely haven't put this on before. Oh, it loads. Okay. Ah, okay. There's a difference between loading it and flashing it. That's why. So I have only just got this today. Now that's surprising because that's, I think that must be loading from the flash card. So getting my power off, it's not a good idea to be changing any of these things. Maybe it's bank 4 then. No, wait a minute. I thought I was sure it was